All right, now this week, our core value is still being solution oriented, but we're going to focus on being strategic. Now, the thing about being strategic is that we get out of the habit of just going from one problem to the next, or from one, for lack of a better way to put it, fire drill to the next. And a lot of times that's kind of how we've been doing is, in the past we used to go from one emergency to the next emergency, and it didn't really give us time to really think strategic and think about like, hey, what is the process we need to have in place to make sure that we can avoid having this problem in the future. So a couple of things that we want to start doing is we want to start figuring out how do we work ahead. So for example, on the marketing team, one of the things that we've done is we've set up a kind of a 2-week kind of period where we're saying like, hey, our schedule for content that goes out needs to be locked within 2 weeks, to where we know we're always trying to work at least 2 weeks in advance, because that gets us out of the very last minute just trying to hustle to get things done. Because a lot of times when we were doing that, we were so exhausted after we got through that one emergency that we didn't really have time to prepare for what was coming the next week or the week after that. And so what we had to do is take a step back and say, how do we develop a strategy that allows us to work in a way that gets us set up to be more successful down the road? Now, on the accounting team, one of the things that we've been looking at is, hey, if we realize that every single month when we go through the accounting close process, we know the closing happens usually the first week and the first 1 to 2 weeks of the month. And if we know that that's the case, one of the questions that we can start asking ourselves is, what could we be doing in the 3rd and the 4th week of the month to actually make our life a lot easier when we go through the accounting close process? For example, the senior accountants. Well, if the senior accountants know that the bookkeepers are doing weekly bookkeeping, then we probably don't have to wait until the accounting close process to actually do some of the initial reviews. Because if the bookkeeping is being updated on a weekly basis, we can probably take a look at some of the financials on a weekly basis, or you can probably look at it at different times during the month just to kind of spot check to see, hey, is there anything that the bookkeeper needs to pay attention to? And that way, what it will do is it will make your life a lot easier when it comes down to those first 1 to 2 weeks of the month when things are really, really busy. So across the board, as we think about the job that we're doing and we think about the deadlines that we have, how can we start to get more strategic and plan ahead so that we're not rushing through emergencies constantly? Because I will tell you, when you're constantly rushing through emergencies, it tends to wear you out and it can get very exhausting. But how can we take a step back and start getting more strategic and say, hey, how do I shift some of this work to a time period of the month when things aren't so busy? Because if we can be more strategic, then we can probably set ourselves up to be more successful in the long term.